Hello there, back again, Angry Watchman. Try and do a few more little videos. Now on D-Marble again. Now he's probably going to chime in and come onto this channel and claim, oh, he's just using my name to get views. Well, so what? Even if I was. I'm not, because I couldn't care less. And you're an arrogant scumbag, D-Marble, so, you think too highly of yourself. I mean, you've got, what, 52,000 subscribers? In the grand scheme of things of YouTube, that's nothing. I mean, I know a YouTube channel on here that has a gentleman who has a bulldog called Ruben, who has 200,000, 300,000 subscribers. There are, other YouTubers that have, a couple of million subscribers. It's nothing. Dude, really isn't. So you're nothing special. Okay. As I said, I was going to do a video on the topic of Hans Wormhat, but I've come to the conclusion that guy is just a waste of time. Some of the shit he says, he can't be serious, and I'm not being dragged into an embarrassing video to point some obvious shit out. I mean, the guy is clinically insane, if he's being serious. I mean, the guy claims that everything from koalas to duck-billed platypuses to emperor penguins to pandas to all great apes are all fake. I think he even thinks that great white sharks are even fake. That he thinks they're all animatronic. He thinks sloths are fake. He thinks, orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas, they're all fake. They're just all men in suits. And he essentially claims, quite literally claims, that most male celebrities, because they don't have the body that he does, that means they're female. He essentially thinks that all male celebrities are essentially female and all females are male. That everyone is transsexual just because they don't have the body type he does. It's laughable. I mean, in one video he claims that excuse my language, that David Attenborough's a woman. I'm sorry, what? And what amazes me the most out of this, especially on the animal front of it, and the transsexual thing, is that he gets people on there that agree with him that koalas are fake and that this actress is actually a man and this actor is actually a woman. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm not going into it because that dude's not going to listen. He's nuts. So no, I'm not doing anything on that. But today's video is another thing where I want to essentially tell D-Marble to just do some research, dude. This video is a prime example of this. Another thing this video is a prime example of is the fact that D-Marble's opinion on things seem to take precedence over everything else. Is that his opinion is all that matters. Because things don't make sense to him or sound convenient to him, then there's a problem. I mean, this is Jeranism's forte into this world since he started. Jeranism has always been, well, this doesn't make sense, so therefore conspiracy. That's pretty much it. And on Twitter, everything is just a clusterfuck of just problems where flat earthers ask for proof, they're given proof, and then they block you. So, without further ado, let's have a wander into this video.
Quick from one of the most recent full moons. That was the one from back in December. I got this video December 12th, I believe it was.
Good.
So, about the moon, they tell us that it's 239,000 miles away or so.
Yes. It would be good if you got the precise measurement, but, we'd gloss over that.
That the moon is 4 times smaller than the planet Earth, according to the heliocentric model.
See, he's mocking it the entire time he's talking about it. You're not interested in truth or facts. You're not. Because if you were so, you wouldn't be taking the piss out of it. Out of something that you clearly do not understand.
But one thing that I find odd about the moon is that you can zoom in and get so much detail.
Yes, but how much detail here? I mean, the moon is incredibly large. You're talking about something that's basically about as wide as Australia. You know, that's probably a fact that I've got from somewhere that's completely wrong, but you know what I mean. Like he states, it's 4 times smaller than the Earth. It's still pretty large, and it is by far and away, especially at night, the largest and brightest, depending on time of year, object in the sky. So when you zoom in on it, like these craters here are like miles wide, right? They're miles in diameter, and the fact that they become elongated at the edges proves that it's a sphere, but that's subject matter for something else. Because there are actually flat earthers out there that think the moon's flat. I mean, good grief, where's this shit going to end?
Using a Nikon P900 or P1000. Mine's a Nikon P900, and that's how I was able to get in and capture this much detail.
Yes, but how much detail? Did you understand the concept that there's probably far more detail that you're not seeing? For example, you could take a picture of a human face from a distance, and you could basically pick out all the detail of my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my ears, and you can possibly take pick up the detail like my beard, right? However, no matter of zooming in from a camera at a certain distance, you're not going to basically pick up the follicles, in my skin, the tiny hairs. You're not going to pick out all the individual tiny hairs in my beard, are you? You know what I mean? Or the little blemishes I might have, like blackheads and spots. I know it's disgusting, but you're not going to be able to notice that until you get much closer in and then zoom in. That's the problem here. You're assuming this is all the detail, but it most likely isn't. There's probably tons of detail. Like, these are kilometers wide. What about other details then that are only meters wide or feet wide? Can you see them? Most likely not.
Looking at the moon where it's supposed to be 238,000 miles away. I find that to be a little odd.
It's not odd though, like I've just said. These craters and things you're zooming in on, these are a couple of miles wide or half a mile wide, but that's still a significant thing to see when you're zooming in. That's quite a sizable object.
Because, I mean, now if you go back and look at some of my older videos, when I first got started with this flat earth stuff, I did one video.
See, he calls it flat earth stuff. So it kind of shows to me that he still isn't taking this seriously, if you know what I mean, on both ends. That he still doesn't really understand what he's talking about.
Where I drove out to an intersection, I recorded a trip meter down to the end of the road. I recorded a tree line. Now I zoomed in on that tree line. That tree line was only like 2 miles, 2.5 miles away. I zoomed in on it, and there was so much atmospheric distortion to a point to where I couldn't get as much detail.
Yeah, and?
So then what happened, I took the camera and I zoomed in on the moon. The moon just happened to be in the sky at the same time, so I tilt the camera upward and zoom in on the moon, and I could get better detail on the moon than I could on a tree line that was 2.5 miles away. So I found that to be a little odd.
Yeah, so what are you suggesting? What, that the moon is 2 miles high? Even though we know it's not, because planes have never flown over it. And the fact that you can send weather balloons 100, 200,000 feet high, and you're still not getting any closer to the damn thing. It's still as small as it ever was. So what? This isn't suggesting nothing. The moon is by far and away, I'm not sure if you've noticed, quite considerably larger than a tree. Which is why you're able to see the detail. But of course you knew that, didn't you?
Another thing, while I got it paused here, that I find to be a little fascinating about the moon, actually, is that you can zoom in, get all this detail right here. You see the different shadows and the craters and all that.
Well done. That's also proof that it's been, the fact that it's got shadows on it proves it's been lit by the moon, by the sun.
But then when you back up, you lose the detail, and at this point, it just turns into another light in the sky.
So it turns into another light, but it isn't just another light, is it?
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, but that doesn't prove anything.
Just wanted to point that out.
Point that out, what? Like nobody else noticed? Good grief.
Okay, so let's move on. But why do we only see one side of the moon?
Oh, please tell us. Please tell us. I like the fact he's got this set up like in a power slide fashion. I think it's like probably one of these examples he's going to take to one of his flat Earth conferences by the looks of it.
That's what we're gonna explore here real quick. And the answer is tidal locking.
Yes, and what he's going to do here is read off tidal locking and actually not take in any of it, because he's mocking the entire thing. So him reading this is pointless. And I don't think he fully understands what tidal locking is, even when he's reading it.
According to the globe model. And this is a article from phys.org.
Yes, but I would like you to do, and he's not going to, right? What does the flat Earth model say about only seeing one face? Are you going to explain that? He isn't, which is one point I'll get to, but he's not going to go. He's not going to go there.
Because the globe model is all about physics. You got to understand physics if you want to understand the globe model, or how to debunk the globe model for sure. At least that's what they tell you.
Yes, understanding physics can go a long way to understanding reality. Like, that's again your sense of reality can't just be due down to your visual sort of ideas. So you see something basically floating in the sky, i.e. the moon. You're not going to go, ooh, it's magic. How's it floating there? That's where physics and science comes in. We understood the concept of the laws of motion, the laws of gravity, put all that together, and use astronomy and all those kind of things, and hey presto, we have our understanding. What does flat Earth have? Completely and utterly bloody nothing.
So it says just here, what is tidal locking? The moon is tidally locked to the Earth, which means that it always shows one face to our planet. In fact, this is the case for most of the large moons in the solar system. What's the process going on to make this happen? And the short answer basically is gravity. But no, that's not it.
No, don't do that. Don't mock gravity. You don't even understand gravity like most flat earthers don't. Right? Don't, because that annoys me no end.
Here's another explanation for it. Tidal locking is the phenomenon by which a body has the same rotational period as its orbital period around a partner. So, the moon is tidally locked to the Earth because it rotates in exactly the same time as it takes to orbit the Earth. Now, that's another one of those coincidences in this whole globe model. And
why is it a coincidence? Please tell me that.
We got a whole bunch of them. Like, the sun and the moon just happen to look the same size.
So? What, so if they weren't, that would change your mind, would you? So if they weren't the same size, oh my god, you'll be a globe earther, done. They just happen to be the same size. Coincidences happen, believe me. Coincidences happen on an unreal scale. It happens. It'll happen many times to you throughout the day without you even noticing it.
And when an eclipse occurs, it just happens to take place where the moon is perfectly aligned in front of the sun, although the sun is 93 million miles away.
Yes, but a perfect eclipse doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen every night. It happens once. A perfect eclipse happens once every, God knows how long. I do know, but I'm not going to make a random number here just in case I look stupid. Which I think I've already done that. But the thing is, it's not that. A proper solar eclipse only happens in stages. We get partial eclipse, annual eclipses, lunar eclipses, all this kind of stuff. A perfect solar eclipse doesn't happen every day. It just happens to happen at certain times for the many reasons as you've stated.
The moon's only 238,000 miles away, but they just look like they're the same size, you know.
Yes, and if you actually understood things like parallax and trigonometry, and just using your visual senses, for example, you'd understand that the sun is by far and away far further away. But of course, you wouldn't do that, would you?
The sun is 400 times larger than the Earth. The moon is 4 times smaller than the Earth, so it just happens to work out that way. It's another one of those strange coincidences, much like this whole the moon is tidally locked to Earth because it rotates in exactly the
Why is it a coincidence? That's why I don't understand. Why is it a coincidence that it does that?
same time as it takes to orbit the Earth. Okay, so it's
not perfect. If you actually, there are actually time-lapse photographs of there where you do get a slight wobble, so you do get to see a little bit more. So it turns a little bit, then turns back, and it's not perfect. There are examples of this. Just go out and find them.
perfect motion, perfect distance, perfect speed.
I wouldn't call it perfect, but the moon's orbit's elliptical, and changes goes up and down at different thing on the celestial plane. But hey, you're just coming up with bullshit here just to basically make the heliocentric model sound improbable. But then again, you haven't explained why does this work? Why isn't this a coincidence? So, for example, why is the sun and moon being the exact same size not a coincidence for flat Earth? Oh, that's right, because there's apparently a creator there for some reason. Yeah.
Huge coincidence, in my opinion.
But that doesn't matter. Coincidences happen.
But okay, the answer to why we only see one side, tidal locking. So that's the first component. Now, let's briefly about Apollo 11, the moon mission that landed the first man, Neil Armstrong, on the surface of the moon. Him and Buzz and Michael Collins. All right, they traversed the dangers of space, landed on the moon, made it back safe. First time anybody had ever done it on a manned mission. Good stuff. We've all seen the post-trip interviews where they're sitting there talking about how they couldn't see any stars, where they're all looking a little dejected, looking kind of depressed, as if they were forced to lie about something. But anyway.
No, that's because they spent many months in solitary confinement, not solitary confinement, in, what's the word? The name's gone. To stay separate for the rest for health reasons. And to readjust and reacclimatize. And by this point, they'd already had countless amount of interviews and talks. And I think the moment you're talking about in that sort of interview was a fair bit into the interview. They were knackered, and I think they were sick of it. As you would be. Because if they knew it was fake, do you think they'd look that excited on the way and during? I know you said, oh, they're acting, but why not just keep the acting up?
The Apollo 11 was the space flight that first landed humans on the moon. Commander Neil Armstrong and lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin formed the American crew that landed.
Look at the sort of semi-smug on his face. Smug smile. I hate it.
The Apollo lunar module Eagle on July 20th, 1969. Okay, so that's the Apollo missions. Now, this is a quick article from space.com. We're just going to look at the title here. The title of this article is Apollo 11 Moon Landing Site Seen in Unprecedented Detail. So
this should be proof that the moon landings did happen. No?
Not only did they travel 238,000 miles away from Earth.
Which isn't really that far when you think about it.
Through the vacuum of space, landed on the moon.
Through the vacuum of so. Again, your flat Earth nonsense is getting in the way here.
But we can take pictures. That we now have the technology on Earth to zoom in and show the lunar sites, and we have them mapped out. So
yeah, we've actually had that for a long time.
The Apollo 11 lunar site is seen here. All right, from my angle, it's a little bit on the left. Okay, Apollo 11. That's where they tell us that the Apollo 11 lunar site took place.
Yes, that's where they landed. Well done.
Okay, so that's tidal locking. We only see this one side, and on this one side is the
which isn't a problem, but never mind.
Apollo 11. Still with me? Good. All right, now on NASA.gov, I go there, I type in Apollo 11, and we have this picture, Earth rising over the moon's horizon. So I click on images, click on that one, download this straight from NASA.gov. Okay, and this is the Earthrise. This is Apollo 11 Earthrise picture taken from the moon of the Earth.
I know where he's going with this, and he needs to do a bit more research before he embarrasses himself.
On the moon's horizon, right? Now, here's where I have a question.
No, you don't.
If we only see one side of the moon because it's tidally locked to the Earth, and the Apollo 11 pictures are from the location specified by NASA on the front, on the side, facing towards the Earth, then why do the pictures from the Apollo 11 mission show Earth so low on the horizon? Now here's what I mean.
But ew! I don't want a crotch shot. That's disgusting.
Earth, okay. At no point, if they're on the face of the moon, pointing back towards the Earth, that the Earth should be low on the horizon of the moon.
Well, that's because the image in question, that one, that was taken on the lunar module, not the lunar lander. This was taken as the lunar module was orbiting the moon. This was not taken from the surface of the moon. This was taken whilst they were in orbit above the moon. You know, going around a circle path, you know, orbit, all that kind of thing, which is why they got this image. You see, a little bit of research would go a long way, D-Marble. It really would. This stuff is not hard to find out at all. Good grief.
Now, of course, we're going to have rebuttals. But NASA took a picture of the Earth at that angle. Okay.
I see how it's nice that you're taking this so seriously, D-Marble.
Okay, let's go with that. Let's say that this is the lunar module taking a picture of the Earth in the distance from approximately that angle, that 90-degree angle.
Yes.
Angle where it's kind of really high in the sky, not so much low on the horizon. Okay, and this is the lunar module, right? This piece of crap costs $50 million.
You see, I already know where he's going with this.
Taxpayer money. And back in 1969, I'm just going to say it's a little bit more in 1969 dollars than it is today. It's probably like, not even going to guess, a lot more. We can say that if you factor in inflation. Because, let me see, back in 69, how much was it for a gallon of gas? A nickel, a dime, 15 cents?
I should probably apologize as well. Like, probably the lunar module and the lunar lander is the same thing. What I mean is like the orbiter. You know, the main part, not the lunar lander, but the lunar module. You know what I mean. Yeah, I probably should try and insert that in right there, just in case I am incorrect, because they could be the same thing.
Maybe. How much is a gallon of gas now? $2.50, $2.89. Yeah, inflation. Anyway. So let's do a technological comparison here.
Oh, here we go.
This is a single prop Cessna. Price range $25,000 to $150,000. Okay, now let's go back. This is the lunar module, $50 million. Okay, single prop Cessna, $25,000 to $150,000. Right. Now let's look at just one thing: rivets.
See, he's going where all other flat earthers go with the lunar lander. Oh, good grief!
Is one thing I want to point out here: just the frame of the lunar module.
Yes, we did a bit of research, which I will show you in a minute. It shows how idiotic you're being, and you need to do some absolute bloody research. It would be good.
Rivets, a short metal pin or bolt for holding together two plates of metal.
I like the fact he has to read the fucking description of what rivets are.
Its headless end being beaten out or pressed down when in place. Okay, these metal sheets are fastened together and riveted in place. In order to make the structure secure, they want to have the frame nice and tight, right? That's why they use rivets. Verb, join or fasten plates of metal with a rivet or rivets.
This is non-important. I don't know why he's reading through this.
2, hold someone or something fast as to make them incapable of movement. Okay, now if you're flying in a single prop Cessna just a few miles above Earth at dozens to hundreds of miles at a time, and you got this much thought put into it, okay, this is the frame right here. They want to make sure that the exterior of this plane is tight, that it's secure. Okay, now let's look at this, and this is $25,000 to $150,000 single prop Cessna. Okay, now let's look at the lunar module. We got gaps in the hull. Is that metal? Does that look like metal plating? Why is this?
Because it's not metal plating, you dumbass.
It's not riveted.
Doesn't need to be, because that's not metal.
You think this actually traveled through space?
Yes. And the reason why they all the insulation and stuff, which I'll get to in a second, is on the outside, because there is no friction in space. There's no air. So there's, when you stick your head out the car window, and your hair goes and your mouth goes, all that kind of rubbish. If you even could do that in space, which you can't because you die, you won't get it, because there's no air, there's no friction. So there's no force applied to all of the material.
I'm gonna go with no. This looks like a poorly constructed science project done by a group of kids around the neighborhood who were on a tight budget.
And as I'll show you in a minute, it would be good to do some research.
But had to throw something together. But this is what we got, $50 million right here, right? Travel through space, through the vacuum of space, travel through all the varying temperature fluctuations and all that. Okay, and then you look at this other part here. What it looks like on these ends is someone took long sheets of tinfoil,
which we'll get to the reason in a moment,
and then got to a point to where they laid it down on the frame and realized that it wasn't going to reach over the rest of it. And then they took another sheet of tinfoil, put this brown adhesive on the edge of it to hold it in place, and then they just, wrapped it around like that. That's what that looks like to me. You let me know in the comments what you think about that.
Yes, and you're only going to listen to Flat Earther comments that support you and agree with you, and just ignore everyone else that's trying to explain shit to you.
And then, the brackets, meaning where the bar actually meets the frame of the lunar lander. Why are these all covered up? Like the bar connects to the frame. Why are you not showing us? Why is it that the way that the bar is connected to the frame, that's all covered up? It looks like somebody got...
You do understand there's actually more photographs than this of the lunar module and lunar lander exist. You do understand that, right?
Large sheets of construction paper and just... Okay.
Which it's more than that, but never mind.
I'm guessing that where...
Your guesses are irrelevant. You need to do some bloody research.
Where these bars meet the frame, it's some kind of industrial adhesive that they just kind of put there to hold it in place just so they can take some pictures, and then they kind of put some construction paper over it, the brown adhesive or the gold aluminum foil and all that, just to make it look spacey. Okay.
Again, your opinions and ideas are irrelevant here unless you do some bloody research.
So anyway, but yeah, it's a piece of crap. Long story short.
Well, I'm going to show you that you're a piece of crap, D-Marble, and the lunar lander is actually made incredibly well. Now I'm going to carry on here for a little bit because he goes into just I'm going to go over some pictures that I found.
In about the right spot. I adjust the contrast a little bit. I adjust the saturation, the level. What's going on here? I mean, that's the Earth, right? That's like an actual picture. But why is there like a little box around the Earth?
Well, that mainly is probably due to the low resolution of the image that you're using. And secondly, this happens quite a lot with images that have a high to low contrast. So the brightness of the Earth compared to the darkness of the sky behind.
Earth, I mean, looks like somebody might have just highlights. Then I'm going to adjust the shadow. And some glow believer trying to, pull up some pictures and do the same thing. But come on, man. Like I said, this.
Do you actually understand anything about like images and photography and image manipulation? Because you most likely don't. All you've done is going, well, I don't think this should look like this, and that's it, done. Right? Now I'll bring up an old video that I did a couple of years ago on this matter, okay, which shows you that this, even if it is there, means nothing. I think I'll just leave that music off for a second. Like you said, so I start off doing this, like what he's doing. I was like, oh, there we go, and you can note that it's around there as well, right? So here's a real moon. This is a picture I found on Google Images, and I do the same thing. So I adjust it. Look, there's another box. So does that mean that that was photoshopped in? No. And here we go. Here's someone doing some freestyle football. Right, here's the ball, so it's high contrast, very bright ball next to a very dark background. See, here's another box. And then you can see the high contrast, you get some sort of boxy things around the people's faces again. So again, like I said, so in short, this means nothing. Absolutely bloody nothing.
Picture isn't even at the right angle. The Earth isn't even at the right angle for this picture to be taken.
But like I said, this was taken from the lunar, the module that was still in orbit around the moon at the time. You know, the one that the lander was connected to. That wasn't taken from the surface of the moon. A little bit of research would have told you that. Right? So here I go back to this. Okay? Now, I literally found these images of the lunar module within seconds. Okay? Right. Here we go. Here is the main shell, so the astronaut compartment. Look at all those rivets. Rivets. Look at all of them. See? It's a solid piece of construction. Incredibly solid. Right? Rivet. High metal. See, here's another view of it. Here's all the important gummings and paper and piping, along with some auxiliary tanks, air tanks, fuel, all that kind of stuff. The windows, the materials, all this kind of thing. Right? See, it's solid metal. Solid. Right? And here's a really simple sort of diagram on how it's made. Okay? And this is without the foils on it. So there's oxidizer, fuel, water, oxidizer, helium, liquid oxygen, helium, fuel, gasoline, oxygen, electric assembly, aft equipment bay, docking hatch, S-band antenna, rendezvous radar antenna, RCS thruster assembly, blah blah blah. Descent stage, helium, oxygen. So it is called the lunar module. I disagree from that. So they are the same thing, right? But like you said, this all fits around here. So it's not all just made out of this. What you assume is metal is not metal. Right, again, here's with a bit more of it added. Here's the struts and things. That let's go forward a little bit. You know, see, these are all the struts. You know, the new claim is, you know, oh, they're just glued on. Right? Now, here's the important bit. This material that it's covered in. Right? This material is based on to help with the radiation and absorption of heat. Now, heat transfer in space is purely through radiation. So what this thermal material does is essentially maximize the heat radiation and minimizes the heat absorption. That's it. You know, that's what it's used for, which is why it essentially covers everything. Then it was covered even more. You know, that's underneath all this kind of stuff, right? Now this stuff, like a lot of that foil, would have been placed underneath, as you can see, and this is further sort of material sort of pieces to further the insulation. You know, it's quite simple demarble, right? So you can see the dark material, and they would have this essentially coating the entire thing. So what I mean, so like here's all the insulation. Here's here's more absorption foil. There's more of the paper that's covering it for more. That I think is a special type of plastic that slows down the sort of movement of the radiated heat. As far as I can work out, and that's what they covered it in. It maximizes heat radiation and minimizes heat absorption. What's underneath here, the dark material, is probably more of this. Right? So look, here is an example of the whole thing being assembled. You know, radiation, you know, thermal material all over the bloody thing. Like I said, and this would have travelled most of the way, or a fair bit of the way, like the force on the launch, with this on top. So this wouldn't have had been out in the open that much. Now, this literally is a lunar module PDF that I found, which actually explains how it's made. Thermal and micrometeoroid shield. It's covered in tons of this. You know what I mean? Windows, forward hatch, Apollo news reference, missection. This goes through all the components of it. Docking tunnel, aft equipment bay. Here we go. Thermal and micrometeoroid shield. This is how it's put together. Folded seam. So Inconel mesh, nickel foil, aluminium shield, aluminized polyamide, which is probably what the dark coloured stuff is. Aluminized polyamide, aluminum structural skin. Basically, it's a typical thermal blanket on micrometeoroid shield. So like I say, it goes through all the micrometeoroid stuff and how it's put together. See, look, here's an actual diagram of the struts that you claim are just glued on. You know, it's not that hard to find. This is so easy to find. Like with these, right? These are RCS thrusters. Those thrusters, for example, are essentially there to do small little maneuvers. Okay? This is what's covered in foil. But again, they probably wouldn't mind, due to the temperatures they experience in space through radiation, that they still would maximize the radiation and minimize the absorption. You know, it's just as simple as that. And these basically, they're not rockets, they're pressurized like bursts of gas that force out and then movement. You know, and these do the little sort of directional changes that require, like for landing, for reconnecting with the lunar orbiter and all that kind of stuff. All that lovely stuff. So again, demarble, okay? Do some research, because this is starting to really piss me off. It's like you stated, you think this goes, or the tweaker shelter is what Flat Earth arsehole used to call it. It's like they claim that this is the metal shielding, which this could be like metal but paper. I think this is probably some sort of other sort of thermal type blanket, thermal device to help. But they claim not. So if you just quick Google search will show you the main shell of the lunar lander and everything that goes with it. And then it and all the devices that are in it and how it's covered, with the thermal material. You know what I mean? Which is this shows off here. I mean, it's not that hard. Okay, so that's it. That's me done. I hope to be back again at some point. Hopefully D-Marble will get the picture at some point, but I very highly doubt it. That's me done. I hope to see you again for another video. I'm not sure what I'll choose. I'm really not going to do Hans Wormhat because I'll lose my mind doing that one. Or I could do Subphotonic again, but like I said, that guy's just even states in his video information that he has the largest collection of Flat Earth memes. So memes to him are proof. So that guy's not going to listen to anything. So there we go. I hope to see you again, and good night. Bye-bye.